Hey movie lovers, I'm Alan.
And I'm Oliver.
Welcome to Real Movie Grade.
Today we're going to give a longer discussion and spoiler-filled review of Ready Player One.
So, Ready Player One, let's dive into it. The first category, we're going to go with Screenplay. I gave it a 4 out of 5, only because there was a few plot holes that I'm sure were covered in the book that this was adapted from. However, they glossed over them, and I kind of got a little hung up on them, and they bugged me. For example, when the girl Samantha, whenever she got right before she got grabbed, she texted everyone that she played with in the game. How did she do that? None of them knew who they were. I'm sure, this is 2045. I'm sure they have in the game that you can somehow connect and send messages that way. Yeah. But we didn't know that about the game. I guess it's something that should be obvious, but they covered all these other cool things that this world does. It was involved in it. I feel like they should have at least mentioned that. It's a small thing.
Sure.
But
for me, I think Screenplay was a 4, not necessarily a 5, just because there's a lot that could have been done that would have been more. I guess I could have gotten more. I never felt like I was wowed by the writing of the movie. It wasn't like the dialogue that was driving me to watch this film. It was like all the other aspects. So I guess I dinged it a little bit because it was it wasn't the dialogue that was
that, and the dialogue overall, and they it wasn't the acting, but when his aunt died, he didn't really care the next scene. He just was still going after the girl, which a lot of people's goals are driven towards the girl or the guy, so it kind of makes sense. But he wasn't. He didn't care until 20 minutes later. Many hours in the movie later, if in their world's time, he didn't really seem to care about that.
Sure. To try to defend the movie a little bit, you could say that he was probably occupied with a lot of other things going on at the time.
They were hanging out in the cool fort of the Resistance, and it didn't come up. He was still talking about getting the money. He should have.
And he had a girl. He was. Come on, man. He's a teenage guy. Remember, target audience.
All right. I mean,
yeah,
sure, but
yeah. To
me, that was just a slight. The next scene, he wasn't even broken up or anything like that. So
sure.
All right, we spent enough time on that.
Pace, timing. I think the movie flowed very well. There were scenes that I think everything was very well crafted. So I feel like each scene was the amount of length that it needed to be to give it enough weight. I guess I always kind of rate a little bit lower for action movies or whatnot. So giving this a 4 instead of a 5 because it's not dealing with as dramatic material. So you don't have to work as hard when you're doing the pace timing, as opposed to something like a drama or a Western where pace timing really matters a lot.
But this one did have some emotions to deal with, like I just pointed out. So maybe this is the category I should have given a ding on because I didn't spend any time talking about.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but I overall I didn't notice there wasn't any problems with pace timing. I was engaged. I was engaged and sitting on the edge of my seat for the whole movie. So
yeah
I gave it top marks there. Cinematography, like we said in the other video, it was beautiful. In the real world, the live action part, it was the explosions and the car chases. Mm-hmm. Everything felt real. I'm sure they actually blew something up for that. If they didn't, whoever did that CGI did a really good job.
Did a really good job. You couldn't tell.
No, you couldn't.
And that was a great part about the cinematography was that as far as the camera work and the editing, everything was shown to you in the way that was most natural and exciting at the same time. You felt captivated by what you were looking at, and good camera work does that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when the drones were zooming around, you got a good look at the drone, and then you got a good look at the drone, what the drone was looking at, without without being sick, because drones probably wiggle around a lot.
Yeah.
So it felt like you were looking through a drone.
Yeah, and it made you feel like there was drama because you were like, oh, these drones are flying and they're going after their target.
Casting, this is an area that I give it a ding on. I think overall the casting is really great. The Ty Sheridan guy, he reminded me of a Shia LaBeouf who wasn't breastfed till he was 10. He was shy. He looks a lot like Shia LaBeouf, and he plays the underdog like Shia LaBeouf often did, but he had confidence still. And he didn't seem like he was just tripping through the scenes to get to the end of filming.
Right. So he acted like he was a kid who grew up in a rough neighborhood, which is, in this movie, like he lives.
They didn't end up being the bully.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's well put.
Yeah. So like he acted like he wasn't afraid because like you can't be afraid growing up in like a ghetto. Like if you're afraid, you're gonna be a target. So like he grew up like learning not to be afraid or not to show it very much.
Yeah. The girl Olivia, she played. She was really confident when she was in the world, the video game world, and then in the real world, that mask wasn't there, but her confidence built. You saw character progression throughout the movie, so she did a really great job. The only thing I dinged it on was the main bad guy. He felt to me like he watched a bunch of Disney movies PG-rated Disney movies, live-action Disney movies. That's how he developed his character for this. He just felt way too silly for me in the live action.
Sure, and I think I was okay with that because I felt like he was trying to channel the right kind of villain for this movie. And feel free to disagree with me on the type of movie.
But the rest of the characters didn't seem straight out of a Disney movie to me. The rest of the characters, they had their personality that they were in the video game world, in the Oasis.
Right.
And then when they were in the real world, they had their actual personality. Now this guy, he had the same silliness in both of them. Then there was no... Now maybe that is what his character is supposed to be, but I didn't buy it in the real world. The rest of them, I bought all their characters.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things I want to talk about from casting and dialogue is how the actors were not only good live actors, but they were also really good voice actors because they had to project their emotions through the animation. And I thought that they did a really great job in doing both in the same movie. And for anybody who does acting, I mean, they're not the same thing. So, yeah, I thought they did great. Design. Steven Spielberg, man, you know what to do when making a movie look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about the DeLorean and the monster truck. All the vehicles were really cool.
Yeah.
Everything in the Oasis world was as grandiose as they were describing. So it fit everything that it was supposed to.
Right. And as far as like the stuff that they did with their design, each CGI virtual character that was based off of some pop culture thing was given its own texture. So I mean that so you had CGI Ninja Turtles, and then you had CGI Godzilla, you had CGI robots, you had CGI cartoons, and each of them looked like they were from an independent film and cut out and put into the movie with their own textures, like their own feel.
But everything blended together. It all belonged.
It was so cool. Like I couldn't believe it was pulled off.
Yeah. Next category is the audio, which it fit equally with the design. It was awesome.
Yeah. They did great work as far as making the sound effects and the sound balance never overpower, but also carry the film in some sections.
And once again, in the real world, they were real sounds, and then in the Oasis, they were video game sounds.
Yeah, seamless transition between the two.
Yeah, and a lot of those video game sounds were cool throwbacks that reminded you of loading screens when you were back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, and they also used some of the popular songs. Wow. Again, I addressed this in the previous video on the short on the way that I feel about the wow of this film. this film is directly this film's wow factor is directly related to how much you understand or remember or feel connected to of 80s through modern era pop culture, television, and video games.
That's absolutely. I would say I didn't give it a 5 for the wow, just because. I mean, all of those things are true. I connected with all those things, and there are definitely people out there that can't. For me, I took it down 1 point in the wow just because the battle at the end was supposed to be a grandiose thing, and it just didn't. It just didn't work for me.
Sure, and so I was gonna say the battle was epic for me because I was like, Gundam. Okay, if you know what a Gundam is, then you're gonna trip out with me. But
that's that Korean guy that did the music video, right?
No, that's a Gangnam Style.
Oh, dang it!
Yeah, nice try though. But no. So like, yeah, if you are a fan of like some of that old animation stuff, if you're a fan of like all the different video games, all of those things showed up in that final battle, and so for me to have all of them in one space. In one epic fight was really cool.
Category. Genre.
So, what do we call this?
It is hard to place. I didn't look to see what other things are calling it.
Yeah. It had elements of a lot of different things. It had like this kind of dystopian feel at the start of the movie.
I'm gonna call it a fantasy sci-fi.
Yeah, and there's definitely sci-fi elements. There's definitely fantasy elements. It was definitely like a teen thing where it was about teens, and
but it didn't. Yes, sure there were teens in it, but it didn't feel like the freaking Maze Runner to me.
Okay, fair.
It felt like it was more for everyone, whereas Maze Runner is like, the kids are all alone and. Just the adults are bad guys, and just the kids are, the kids are the good guys, and that's all that's in the world.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I gave it a 4 for genre, partially because I had a hard time placing it, and I didn't know how highly I wanted to rate it. But
that's why I gave it a 5, because I felt like it sort of defined whatever it's in.
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as I did kind of put it in that teen action sci-fi adventure category, and I think that within that category, there are actually a lot of really good movies, especially in the last 20 years. So I give it a 4 there. But overall, that didn't take it down anything below an A for me. This movie was just very well done.
All right. See you at the movies.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, find us on Facebook and Twitter, and join in the comments below and let us know what you think on how we can improve the Real Movie Grade system.
What are you, an auctioneer? Hey, don't forget to watch the playlist to my left. What is Real Movie Grade? It's going to help you better understand the Real Movie Grade system.